So we're here.
We're here.
Caroline Lehan. Is that how you say your name correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, not exactly. So I have these notebooks that I do my memes with, and I just thought I would just randomly turn to a page and see what subject Bashar has in mind for us to talk about. Want to try that?
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Okay. Oh, I don't know about that one. Okay, let's see here. As you create the state of being you prefer to be in, one of self-empowerment, one of joy, one of passion, one of creativity, one of love, there is no room in that vibration for fear, self-doubt, paranoia. For when you exist in that state, what you will do over whatever time frame is comfortable for you is you will shift yourself slowly or quickly from one parallel version of Earth to another, to another, to another. And each of those will be more and more reflective and representative of the state of being you have created within yourself. So that's like really a popular part of Bashar's message, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of feel like that process of shifting and the amount of time it takes, I always wonder about that, like slowly over time.
Yeah.
They talk about taking bigger and bigger leaps, you know.
Yes.
You notice like doing big leaps in any.
Recently, yes.
Yeah.
Or for me, I found that when I'm really ready to shift something, it will first come up almost in like a kind of way. And I'll feel the opposite. Like there's no way I could shift this. It's so in my face.
Mm-hmm.
And then that it being in my face is what allows me to see kind of both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of like almost like shock myself into the other side.
Oh.
And then once I've looked on the other side, it's like, oh, how could I go back?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a big shift. So it's kind of like once I get, I think this is with a lot of people, once I get so fed up with something,
Mm-hmm.
I notice those almost instantaneous shifts.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking me some time to figure that out, though.
Yeah. So now, do you think you won't let yourself get to that point as much, or do you still need to, do you think, to be able to have clarity about the shift?
I've noticed that it depends on what I'm getting clarity on. So if it's something that keeps repeating itself and I'm using all the tools and nothing's happening, then I understand that I'm still learning something.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can really tell that it's me who's just, wasting my own time or just like hanging on to a fear, then I'm able to shift. But I've noticed that it's really important to let these things surface and that it's a really good sign of transformation. In the past, I was a little bit more almost trying to get to the top of the mountain without actually wanting to reflect on anything.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's, I think, a good move because you can feel intuitively like, okay, I can just make this shift. Like there's nothing holding me back.
Mm-hmm.
But then other times, like I said, there you can feel that there's still something you're experiencing or learning from it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a shift in itself when you realize that you realize that you're learning is kind of puts a positive spin on it. And
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. It feels like there's two big lessons that go on. One being how we are conscious creators and how powerful we are and how we can shift instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other lesson of, we came to have this experience so that we could have a story or a process or have something to share.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the balance between both of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking about that, like the path of transformation and the path of just choosing. Some people are just very clear and just, okay, that's not what I prefer. I choose this. And they can just shift, and sometimes I can do that as well. But then there's also that, like, actually looking at a situation in your life and transforming your perspective of it. Maybe they're the same thing. It's just choosing a different way of looking at a situation in your life. Or you can see it as choosing a different situation in your life. But, maybe they're really the same thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Have you ever noticed, has anything ever happened to you where, like, at first, like maybe an unexpected circumstance, and at first it might trigger some of those negative emotions, and then you get like a little bit of clarity of what you think might be happening, and then that little bit of clarity is not really the whole picture, but then a few weeks later it's like then you get the next piece of clarity and you're like, oh,
Yeah, that happens a lot.
that little building block to be able to understand this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and remembering that when you're in the heat of things really helps, I think.
Yeah.
This could be that. This could be, well, it always is. It's like the integration, I guess. This is going to be used to integrate whatever's happening.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm. So is there any other like subject that you had in mind to talk about? I can do the random quote, or if there's any that you had in mind.
No, I think the random is fun.
Okay. See what else. um, are you into music? It's about like the sonic chords. The phi ratio is 1 to 1.618. Thus, then you will be using the vibration to tap into the core beingness. Um, yeah, are you into any of the like mathematical type technology information he gives?
No.
No.
Because I guess I'm just not there yet, or
Yeah.
because I'm like you, I'm very emotional based. The moment it gets in the head, I'm like,
Yeah, it's just not relevant.
I mean, it's a permission slip for sure, but I'll leave it to the geniuses.
Yeah, sounds good. We're emotional geniuses, right?
Yes, right, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Um, so you were talking about that you didn't have dreams about children, and you didn't have that many contact experiences that you remember, right?
Right.
Do you have dreams and remember your dreams?
Yes.
You do, but they don't seem like they're ET related at all.
They are in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel the connection, and I have definitely woken up several times where it feels odd, like I was in a very powerful, intense conversation, and it's like, wait, what? Why? I need to go back and finish that conversation.
Yeah.
Or I'll get feelings and messages throughout the day that I'm wondering if that's where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's like it's hard to explain. I guess I would describe it as almost like a knowing. Like I can feel them more than I see.
Uh-huh. You mean just in your day-to-day life you can feel them, or when you wake up?
Yeah, or when I wake up. Like
Mhm.
I'll have dreams that will, I guess, like if the plug was almost in the circuit, the dreams will like
Wow,
have it in.
that's interesting. Do you
Yeah.
think that they're like screen memories of encounters? Some of your dreams, they just might seem kind of like normal dreams, but they're covering up like ET interactions and everything.
It's very possible.
Uh,
Very possible.
yeah. I have dreams about like different people sometimes, and when I wake up, I wonder, if that was really an ET sometimes.
Mm.
And I also have dreams about like mixtures of people I know. Have you ever encountered that in your work or in yourself? Like it'll be like a mixture of three friends that I have in one person.
Yes, lots of times.
Really?
Also, something interesting that has happened a lot is I've had dreams about other people's past or future,
Uh-huh.
but I'm the present me.
Oh.
So it's like I'm having a conversation with, I would almost describe it as like their emotional past.
Wow, that's interesting. Like someone you know, not
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So I'm not sure what that's about.
Uh-huh.
I just started the um from the transmission, the awakening, Bashar
Mhm.
transmission. I just started that permission slip of
Uh-huh.
lucid dreaming.
Wow.
Still working on that, and hopefully I will be more conscious and
Yeah.
lucid.
Yeah. How many weeks is that? I did it once too.
Oh, you did?
Uh-huh. Yeah. I
How did?
did. I gained some lucidity. I forget how long the permission slip goes. Is it 2 weeks or something? But
It's 4 weeks.
oh, 4 weeks, yeah. I probably had about 3 lucid dreams in that time, and I used the contact crystal for my object, and I
Oh,
did see that several times. Um, so the lucidity, yeah, it really did help with that. But I can't say that I am a regular lucid dreamer, but I've had some
yeah,
before. They're exciting.
yeah.
Yeah. How about you? Have you had any before this? Do you think?
I've had a couple, but I don't feel like I've really entered that space within myself yet.
Uh-huh.
Like I've had some, but I haven't had any that I've really been able to. The only one that really stands in my memory is when I didn't know anything about crystals and I slept with a bunch of them by my head.
Mhm.
And I was also really into lucid dreaming at that time, and I basically had such a lucid dream that I couldn't get out of it,
Wow.
but I didn't know enough about what that meant. And then I started panicking, and it turned into almost like a lucid nightmare.
Oh gosh, that's wild.
But it was so visceral.
Hmm.
Um, I'll never forget that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you tried putting crystals around you again?
Yes.
Did it work again?
No.
Expecting an outcome, I guess,
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, let's just say I cleared that crystal also.
Uh-huh. That makes sense. That could be, huh? Maybe the crystal was dirty or something.
Yeah.
Wow. It gave you a nightmare.
But yeah, I'm really excited about lucid dreaming, and I guess I'm just still a beginner.
Mm-hmm. I think most of us are.
Yeah.
I remember hearing one guy on a Bashar transmission who was like, he sounded like he was lucid dreaming every night and doing all these things all across the universe. Yeah, healing and going into pyramids, and it's just like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess we're doing that. Maybe we don't really realize it.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if that was the case, I don't know about for you, but for me,
Mm-hmm.
I would just be such a different person. I don't know what I would be doing. It's like, have you ever skydived before?
No, indoor skydiving, but not actually.
Skydiving?
Yeah.
Well, you know how, were you a little scared before you did it?
Um, I wasn't. I guess no. It seemed. I think I would be if I was actually skydiving, but I
Okay,
wasn't.
you're just a
But
natural
I
badass,
can.
like.
Yeah.
Well, I did a long time ago, and I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't expecting. It was like this weird situation where my friend kind of set me up, and then I was on I mean, obviously I was pretty gullible, but anyway, so I was terrified,
Uh-huh.
and then because I didn't really have time to think about it, it
Mm-hmm.
just I just did it, and then it's like I'm doing it. This is happening, and
Wow.
it was so much fun. And
Uh-huh.
after, I felt like what we were talking about before, like I made one of those jumps.
Mm-hmm.
where it was like all my insecurities were gone. It was like nothing scared me.
Oh, wow.
And so I truly felt like I can do anything. I can do whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess I'm using this example because I feel like, at least for me, that if I started lucid dreaming every night,
Yeah.
I would probably be.
Yeah, that would be like what your experiences are. Yeah.
But I guess that's where we need to go at some point, because that's what will help us all evolve.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find it interesting, the template, like changing our template at night. I always wonder, like, if people are really good at changing their template at night and they're in my life, like if they can actually affect my life. I guess that wouldn't really make sense, but like if you ever are in a relationship with someone and they have a big shift um, in their lives, and I wonder if how we interact with each other, like in that template reality. If imagine if you're asleep and if you are really skilled at lucid dreaming and you say, okay, I'm going to change all this stuff in my life, and then you wake up, and or if you're a person in that person's reality, I guess, would it be a different version of me, or would it be the same one?
Right.
Well, it's always a different version, but would it be a different timeline or something? I guess it's always a different timeline too. But depends on the agreement. I guess if I was going to experience someone else's change in their dream state, I guess it's possible that I would have agreed to, yeah, you can change my life by whatever you're doing in your dream. Or
Whoa.
I don't know why that.
That's trippy.
Yeah. But that does seem exciting to be able to do that. I guess we can intend to do that in our life. I guess that's what this is all about, really, is, making changes in our lives to be more of our true selves and everything. And
Yeah. And I find it so fascinating that Bashar talked about how when you switch, because you've listened to the Awakening Transmission, obviously. You said you did Contact Crystal. So when you switch between physical and the dream reality, it's the power of paradox, where, usually in the dream reality, obviously it's like our true selves, where, everything can happen instantaneously, there's no limits, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
And then here it seems as if there's limitations. But when you lucid dream, it switches, where you actually become grounded in the dream, where you actually want structure. And then when you come back out here, it's the opposite,
Mm-hmm.
where you have less structure, and now the physical dream becomes lucid.
Uh-huh. I love that description.
That's fascinating. That's so fascinating to me.
It is, definitely. Yeah, that's one of my major permission slips sometimes, when I feel like things are really kind of heavy in my life, just to remind myself that this is a dream. It can be perceived, it is a dream. Things are a lot more flexible and malleable. And it just kind of seems to lighten things up and open more probabilities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the understanding that you can shift so quickly, and
Mm-hmm.
What was that? I was going to say something else. I forget.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's check the book.
Okay.
Okay, I have this one. It's called, well, it's a quote. It says, "Asking to be off means that you are off."
Wait, what?
if like a person said, am I off here in a certain situation? And Bashar said, well, asking if you're off means that you are off.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Which I find that kind of paradoxical, because I thought he said that we could never really be off, you know?
Right.
But I guess from one perspective, you can be.
Yeah, or you're like choosing what you don't prefer, I guess, or
mm-hmm. Like, yeah, choosing not to have confidence in your own perception of if you are off or not, you know?
yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like giving your power away to someone else, I guess.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, how do you like perceive the whole like having this being that is knows so much? Well, he says he doesn't really know. He knows what he knows needs to know in the moment. You know, it's not like he's this huge, has all this information in him, you know, in his being. But I don't know. He just knows what he needs to know when he needs to know it. But do you think? I really think it's really helpful that they haven't come down like as beings yet, because I feel like we'd either want to kill them or worship them probably right now. How do you see that kind of like changing? I know they say, well, whenever we can feel equal to them and to each other, you know, I think that's a big challenge. But it's fun though. I mean, we're like unfolding ourselves into being that high vibration where we will feel equal to them, you know.
Right.
So, any thoughts about that?
Yeah, so um I think it's important to remember that, as he reiterates all the time, essentially, is we are all one, not just in the structure sense, but that it is a game in the sense that Bashar, you know, whatever you want to say, Bashar's oversoul or Bashar's higher self could absolutely also and has had a human experience. And in that density, like physics, he would have this experience unless he agreed to something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really understanding that it's not just that we're waking up to all these things that are already in our DNA because we're changing. It's more like we're remembering. So like telepathy and knowing that physical reality is a dream, and knowing that we are all one, and you know, moving in the direction of Bashar and the other hybrids,
Mm-hmm.
really seeing it almost in this kind of like what we were talking about with the lucid dreaming and the physical dream, like almost using the logical mind to understand that we're just shifting through densities. We're just experiencing a different version of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
but the core of us never changes.
Mm-hmm.
So we were never not equal. And we're having that experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like how a person can see the ocean and how a hermit crab can see the ocean. They still have their own experience of the ocean, but that doesn't mean one is better than the other. It's just a different experience. And I think that's why we have the experience of sometimes that this is really challenging, and of course it is, and you know, why would I ever agree to this sometimes, you know, and other times it's very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard Bashar say that for a soul, it's very almost like addicting to come to this reality because it's so amazing that you forget who you truly are.
Uh-huh.
And I think that kind of hints at understanding our true nature, of knowing deep within us that we can interchange and we can be the Bashar or the human or the other hybrid or the, you know, and that this is just very natural. Mm-hmm. And that it's just a different level of the game.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's what we go through in our life. We go through stages where it's like, I'm in a relationship. This is so amazing. The relationship's over. Now I'm focusing on my career. That's over. Now I'm going through this weird process where I'm finding out who I am. Now that's over.
Yeah.
So, but I really liked what you said about we'd either kill them or worship them, because, yeah, I think those are both two scary things, especially the worshiping part in terms of what's happened in the past. Of that, worshiping holds the understanding that we are disconnected and keeps us from looking within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Bashar is very clever that he's kind of giving us one message, but giving us something underneath. And the message on top is, here are all these metaphysical principles. Here's how the universe works. This is the law of everything. These are the 5 laws. Don't you remember? And then underneath, he's reminding us to start really asking more of these questions to ourselves so that we can remember within us.
I love what you said about being in the game, but knowing you are playing in the game. Do you feel like that's part of what the shift is that we're doing, instead of being forgetting? We are moving into a version of ourselves that realizes what we're doing for that purpose. But paradoxically, will we still be doing that if we already know that it's a game?
Right.
Where we'll be at a different level. I wonder if we'll want to come back and incarnate at a lower density again, just to enrich our soul.
Totally. Yeah, I'm sure.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we could go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Earth isn't the most dense. It's one of the densest, but it's not the most dense.
Do you see yourself incarnating in a denser reality?
Totally.
You probably are. You what?
I'm curious, definitely.
Wow, you're bold.
I mean, not as me, Caroline, but hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I had the agreement set up and if I had another Bashar to me.
Yeah. Do you feel connections to a more dense like planet other than Earth?
Recently I've been very curious about learning more about Orion.
Mm-hmm.
And not the reptilian, the ones that we have lots of negative beliefs about, not the ones that are helping us, but actually the ones in between. I think they're called like type 1, maybe, where they're almost essentially, again, I don't know that much, but they're kind of like almost like neutral. They're kind of like us in the sense that they're also exploring polarity.
Uh-huh.
And they're like service to others, service to self, not really sure which one.
Yeah.
But very different experience because it's in their realm, their dimension, their density. And that, to me, I'm so curious about that.
Wow.
Because imagine how much we could learn from them too, because they're going through the same thing, but it's in their own experience.
Yeah.
So that fascinates me because I feel like you can pull a lot of information from that could help here as well.
Uh-huh.
It scares me too, but I know that that's just a belief.
Have you ever heard Bashar or any other channeled entity talk about that, and like give us information that we could learn from?
Yes, Rob Gothier
Uh-huh.
and some others as well. I don't know the names off the top of my head as I've been going down some YouTube black holes.
Yeah. I'm gonna stop recording and then start it again because it's already half hour.